So AI, like, there's been so much talk of AI, hasn't there? We've done, but so I think what I've been thinking a lot about how we use AI, how we can use AI. We've obviously spoken a lot about it in previous workshops. We've had guest speakers that have spoken about it. Spent a lot of time going through kind of AI ideas and concepts at Abundance 360 in March, which I've sort of had time to defrag a little bit. I know that last workshop was literally a few days after I got back from LA, so I think I've had more time to think about it. But I think the thing that struck me when I was listening to different speakers in LA about this is that I think going into it, you're wondering whether AI is overhyped. And actually, what I came away from that conference thinking was AI is underhyped. There is so much more that people are thinking that aren't even thinking about their thinking, that AI has the potential to change for good or for bad. I'll give you one example. There's a guy called Bill Gross, amazing businessman. He's had 150 part to play in 150 successful businesses. He's taken 50 businesses to IPO. That's more than anyone ever. And he said, when he was talking about AI, he said, imagine getting 1 million of the brightest scientists, or take the brightest scientists on the planet, get 1 million of them and dropping them on an island and saying they're going to work for nothing more than the energy required to feed them. Think about how the world would change with 1 million of the brightest scientists coming up with new ideas at almost zero cost. The world progresses so much quicker when we've got that idea generation going on. And one of the analogy, and so that's why, like, that's one of the reasons why I think it's massively underhyped. At the moment, we're thinking, oh, it can do this, or it can do this quicker. But we're not thinking about how it can change our thinking completely. One of the analogies that I used in the AI masterclass and in Unleash the Power of AI was, which I know most of you will have seen, is the match between Lee Sedol and AlphaGo. Has anyone not heard me talk about that? Does anybody know? Okay, so okay, so I'll explain. So basically, in the world of chess, it was always thought that AI would be able to beat the best chess player, and sure enough, AI eventually got to the point where it could beat Kasparov, but there's a different game called Go, which is a Chinese version of chess essentially, but it's way more complicated. It's got literally by a factor of 1,000 more moves than chess has. So it was perceived that AI would never beat the top humans at Go. It's been played by, it originates from China. It's been played for over 2,000 years. And so Google created DeepMind, and they created AlphaGo within that framework. And they played Lee Sedol, the top Go player on the planet at the time. And it actually beat Lee Sedol 3 games to 1, I think it was. But the most interesting thing was move 37 in one of those games. Because when move 37 was made, all the commentator, Lee Sedol himself, the people that were watching were like, that's a bug. That's just a ridiculous. Why? There's a bug in the system. It shouldn't have done that. And yet it was at the end of that game that move 37 was the deciding factor, and it was what stopped Lee Sedol being able to win that game. And what had happened was it had unlocked this entirely different strategy. So humans playing Go for 2,000 years hadn't unlocked this whole realm, this whole strategy within the game of Go that AlphaGo had unlocked and had been playing Go for about 3 days. So it's going to be this opportunity to change our approach to thinking and change conceptual thinking that we've been stuck in without even knowing about it. As it happens, they then created AlphaGo Zero, which they created 2 versions of AlphaGo Zero. And what they did, they gave it the rules of Go, and they then said, now just play each other and learn by playing each other. We're not going to tell you the strategies, you just learn by playing each other. So AI teaching AI. AlphaGo 0 then was paired against playing AlphaGo, the one that had beaten Lee Sedol 3-1, and it beat AlphaGo 100-0. 100 games to nil. It beat the one that had beaten the best human on the planet. So it's going to change our thinking. But how is it going to change our thinking? Well, there was another analogy used where it can really do three things. It's like a loom in that it automates a person's work. So that's one way we can use AI. It's also like a slide rule, so it makes a person faster. And it's also like a crane in that it extends what a human can do. It can do things that a human just cannot do. It expands our capacity. And there's one of the speakers that I saw was a guy called Salim Ismail. And he talks about this, the 6 Ds framework around thinking about technology. So about digitalization, about deception, disruption, dematerialization, demonetization, and democratization. And I think it's just worth thinking about what those 6 Ds mean and how they apply to our businesses. So digitalization, the best example is Kodak creating the digital camera. So created the digital camera, they basically put themselves out of business and they killed their own business because they didn't then adopt the technology that they had helped create. But ultimately what they did was they digitalized a product that was previously not digital. And so, that's what ultimately anything that we can digitalize from the physical world has the potential to be accelerated through AI. Then there's this deception. Now, I think 3D printing is a great example here. So 3D printers were hailed as, like this amazing thing. We're all going to be printing our own adjustable spanners when we, instead of ordering them on Amazon. And actually, then we didn't get there. They didn't come along. And Nitesh had a business that was based around. Do you still have is that? Oh, okay. But one of the principles here is that we get you can be too early, but actually, the technology and the use of it is still doubling every year. And where you see that doubling, that exponential growth, it takes a long time for it to really have a significant effect. But once it does, it will jump in huge stages and jump really fast. And I think 3D printers are finally getting to the point where they have that potential. Maybe we're still not even there yet. But it is very easy to say, oh, it's a great piece, it's a great idea, but it's not happening. But it is deceptive in that this doubling takes time for it to really have huge impact. Disruption. I mean, Airbnb owns no property, and yet it's the most valuable, well, it's not a hotel business, but it is essentially a hotel business, most valuable hotel business on the planet, and it doesn't own a single hotel. So the tipping point is where digital technology outperforms and disrupts existing industries. So that's disruption, and it's really difficult to predict disruption. So they did a study on car wash businesses in Brazil. Do you like my lovely Brazilian themed
Brazilian car wash?
Brazilian car wash, yeah. It's cool, isn't it? Obviously AI. And they couldn't work out why you'd think with more people owning cars and more people being, or society being uplifted, you'd think that people were paying for their cars to be washed more often, and yet the trend was complete opposite. Less people were getting their cars washed, and they couldn't work out why it was happening. And they did a whole load of research, and they concluded it's because of the weather app. We all know when it's going to rain. And if it's going to rain tomorrow, why would you get your car washed today? Because it's a complete waste of time. So it's really difficult to see disruption like that and predict that having a weather app would reduce your car washing profitability by a factor of something like 25%. It's crazy. So it's really difficult to predict. But what Bill Gross is the guy I mentioned earlier. What he's done is he's gone, well, okay, so if AI is going to change this particular thing, how can we build businesses that are thriving as a result of that new problem. So one of the businesses that he's built, so one of the problems he said, which actually I was going to talk to you about, Nitesh, at some point, is we've spent a fortune on getting our websites optimized so that they come up on Google, search engine optimization. And now what do? We go to Google, we type the question, and Gemini gives us the answer. We don't go to people's websites anymore. So this is a problem for businesses that have paid a whole load of money to get clients coming to their website to get the information, and now Gemini just steals the information and gives it to them without you visiting the website. So he's gone, well, okay, if that is a problem that's created by AI, how do I create a business that solves that problem? And basically is rocket launched as a result of this problem occurring. So he's created a thing called prorata.ai, where it will look at your business and say, these are actually the better places to advertise. It'll look at your ideal client and it will give you the suggested strategies as to where you should place your ads. And I think I'm right in saying it's free, but that might be the launch version. So it's definitely worth playing around with. Then we've got demonetization, where things that we used to pay for become free, like Google Maps. We used to have a sat nav that we paid for. We probably paid a monthly subscription for it. Now Google Maps is free and we all think we kind of own it. It's like it's ours. Why? If they tried to charge us for it, we'd get really cross because we've become used to it. We get the dematerialization, where we've used to carry around a camera, a phone, an iPod, other pieces of technology. Now it's all in one device. And we get democratization, which is where technology becomes accessible to way more people. And YouTube is an amazing example of that, because it's about the convergence of different technologies. You know, YouTube, predecessors to YouTube failed. Why YouTube succeeded is because it happened to be coming out as we were all starting to get broadband, and we could, and also having phones with cameras, so we could upload content really easily and we could watch that content really easily. And free storage, exactly. So I want to go back to the framework that I created for the AI Masterclass and start to think, well, okay, how can we apply this in our business? And particularly what we've spent the first couple of hours doing, Lisa, is looking at how we can delegate some of the stuff that isn't the things that we love and the things that we're best at. And obviously this is an opportunity to now think, well, okay, how can we use AI in these different areas? So the first step of the AI Masterclass, or the AI CEO, the framework I created for that, was to analyze. And analyze is, well, how can we transform chaos into clarity to make smarter business decisions? And the best thing that I saw, so I'm not sure I should do this, but I'm going to share with you a clip of a talk that was done at A360 that completely blew my mind. So there was a guy called Steve Brown. He's one of the people that Peter Diamandis goes to when it's anything to do with AI. So I've seen him speak a few times. An amazing guy, and he had gone through a challenging few months in the lead up to Abundance 360. So I'm hoping, and I can't actually remember how much I clipped of this, but I'm hoping if I play this, we will see Steve Brown explain what he'd been happening in his life in the lead up.
But in the last couple of months, actually, my own story has been quite that. It started off with the fires in LA 2 months ago, which happened to burn a house down. For the second one. Well, the first one was a rental, but it didn't really count, because this was like, you know, the dream home. The owners. Yeah, I mean, well, anyway, yeah, we lost our stuff before, but this was a much more traumatic event. But it actually turned out to be something else. Lee Stein, who's here, said, Steve, you need to look for the gift. If you don't look for the gift, you're not going to find the gift. So we were displaced from Los Angeles, and my wife and I and my 170-pound Great Dane, we ended up staying with friends in Palm Springs. And I ended up in the emergency room because of state dinner pain, thinking that I was obstructed. I went to the ER, and got CAT scan. And the ER doctor is like, hey, there's something going on here. I got admitted to the hospital and for many, many more tests and biopsies and everything. And I ended up getting diagnosed with multiple myeloma, blood cancer. And while I'm in the hospital for 8 days.
This is about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I'm in the hospital and I'm like, of course, I'm just talking to AI the whole time. What's going on here? What does all this mean? And I had just had, not Fountain Life, I'm sure Fountain Life would have figured this out, but I had gone to the doctors and I had had everything under the sun tested, I thought. The specialists. And they were like, this is a fishing expedition. We can't find anything. Maybe you're just stressed out and overworked. It's been working very hard for a very long time. But anyway, I couldn't find anything. So I ended up with a young ER doctor in Palm Springs who didn't know me, didn't have any background in me at all, not a specialist, and he ended up piecing these things together. So I went back to while I was in the hospital, I went back to my medical records, all the tests that I had done.
Is this for over the last few months?
Yeah, and I said, well, when would AI have caught this? I took all the data, not from Palm Springs, but all the prior data, and I said, is there anything in there that might have helped find it earlier? I was extremely lucky in that we found it very early before much damage had been done, and I'm actually on chemo right now and immunotherapy, and I think I'm going to be okay. But let's talk to Hippocrates. Hey, Hippocrates, I was not feeling well for a while, and I lost a bunch of weight, so I went to my specialist, 2 different specialists, and I had everything under the sun tested, and they really couldn't find anything. And they thought maybe I'm just stressed out or overworked or depressed, kind of the default answer that doctors sometimes give. They don't know what's going on. I wonder if you could look at my chart and tell me what you see.
To your concerns, looking at your chart, I noticed several significant findings that warrant further investigation. Your low immunoglobulins, IgA and IgM, low gamma globulins, mild anemia, elevated ferritin, and unexplained weight loss together suggest a possible plasma cell disorder. I recommend discussing with your physician about bone marrow evaluation to rule out multiple myeloma in the next.
So first off the bat, right?
So that is what the doctors didn't find.
Actually, didn't find it, even though we were totally testing everything. But a generalist put the pieces together and found it, and you found it even earlier. I'm trying to understand how that could be.
Steve, I'm not surprised. Your pattern of hypergamma-globulin near weight loss, fatigue, and anemia creates a classic constellation suggesting plasma cell dysplasia. Specialists sometimes focus narrowly on this important pattern. The immunoglobulin abnormality is a key clue for heat integration. This pattern recognition is fundamental in medicine, seeing the whole person, not just isolated.
So he went to a doctor, he went to the best doctors he could find, got tested for everything because he wasn't feeling very good. They came back with nothing. And AI, with those same test results, could diagnose what he found out a few weeks later. That to me is just like at a point where we're thinking, is AI going to be as good as a human? We're now starting to go, actually, AI can be way better than a human because, particularly in the medical world, where you have to ask yourself whether an ear specialist is now niched down to a left ear specialist as opposed to a right ear specialist. The generalist is actually quite difficult to find. I'll just finish this off. I think there was another follow-up to this.
That's excellent program. Daratumumab Darzalex, powerful monoclonal antibody targeting CD38. 50% reduction in light change, just 2 weeks into use. This rapid response is encouraging and suggests the therapy is effectively targeting normal plasmas. continue monitoring closely with your oncologist as this early response is positive prognostics.
So basically, what all he's done to achieve that is upload all of his tests into a custom GPT. The fact that it's got Socrates as the face that's delivering it in a more human way is irrelevant, really, albeit quite cool. But the point is, he's just given AI the opportunity to analyze his own health data, and it's done a better job than the doctors that he's paid to do. And so there is so much potential in the analyze place. So what he did is actually he's created a whole load. So this is medicaladvocate.ai. So he created a number of different AI specialists in each of those areas. And then he has the God version, which is essentially the one that kind of interacts with them all and creates discussion around them.
Steve. Amir, Steve's labs show a concerning pattern. The mild anemia with high ferritin, hypergammaglobulinemia, low IgA, IgM, and splenic cyst suggests potential hematologic issues. His weight loss and fatigue aren't fully explained by the normal endoscopy findings. Consider bone marrow evaluation.
Haley, I appreciate your concern, but we should be cautious about jumping to hematologic malignancy. Steve's anemia is mild, and ferritin elevation could be inflammatory. The splenic cysts are likely incidental. His symptoms could be explained by the gastritis. Before invasive bone marrow testing, I'd recommend iron studies and B12 folate assessment.
Amir, I understand your caution. However, the pattern of mild anemia with high ferritin, hypergammaglobulinemia, low IgA, IgM gammaglobulin, and weight loss is concerning. The normal iron studies with low RBC suggest a non-iron deficiency group. Consider hematology consult before attributing to gastritis alone.
You raise valid points, Haley. The combination of hypergammaglobulinemia with anemia and weight loss does warrant further investigation. While gastritis could contribute to symptoms, it doesn't fully explain this constellation of findings. I agree a hematology consult would be appropriate to evaluate for potential plasma cell disorders or other hematologic conditions.
So they've now got AI doctor speaking to AI doctor to actually bring the specialists into the generalist and making suggestions as to what is the next approach. So this analysis is, I mean, like just unbelievable. And I know last time we were in the workshop, I'd just been introduced to deep research. I don't know if you've played around with deep research. Again, amazing, whether you're using Genesis, whether you're using OpenAI. I was thinking about investing in a company called Ningi. I was introduced to it by Tom. It's a back office system for financial advisors, but it's got AI woven throughout it. The back office market technology for financial advisors is awful. So I saw this as a great opportunity. But I was like, well, is it a good idea for me to invest or not? So I uploaded all the information in that I could get, the pitch deck, the website, all of the presentation, and said, go off, research this sector and decide whether it's a good investment. And it gives me this huge level of detail. And then what I started to do was just interact with it and ask it. So it goes off with deep research, does 15 minutes worth of, in 15 minutes, it's been off and looked at the whole, all of its competitors, all of that different stuff. But then what's brilliant, you can really interrogate it. And I got down to the point where I was saying, if I'm investing money into this business, what are the likelihoods of success? And it says, well, really, there's actually a 10 to 15% probability that this is a breakout win. It goes crazy, and your money multiple is 23 times on that. There's a moderate success where it reaches sort of a 50 to 100 million pound valuation. That's probably a 25 to 30% chance, and that'll give you a 6-time multiple of your investment. And then there's probably a 55% to 55 to 60% chance it's 0 to 2 times your money. Stack all of that together, as any financial advisor in the room will understand the benefit of weighted returns. And that means my probable return is turning £50,000 into about, I think it's 278,000. I think that was what it was. So then so 276,000 is the probable return. Now, clearly, it could be 50% chance of it being 0. So the whole point of this probability only works if you've got a portfolio of some of other companies with similar amounts of chance. But this to me just gave me like, and then I came up with a verdict of, well, okay, actually this fits my own personal portfolio, what I'm trying to achieve. I can also add value to it. It made it a compelling investment for me. I've done this with other investment opportunities that have been put in front of me, and I haven't invested in some of them for exactly that research. This is a level of research I would never ever have done, but it's just like going to another level. The problem with deep research is it gives you a lot of information. So what I'm then doing is using that information and putting it into Notebook LM, which turns it into a podcast, 20-minute podcast to listen to. So what I've also been doing prior to the leadership meetings is I will go to deep research and say, right, we've got the hub and spoke leadership meeting tomorrow. Here's the problems that we've got with this business. Here's the opportunities. This is what we want to change. Go off and do a huge research project on the hub and spoke sector, the local area, all of that sort of stuff. It pulls together this huge document, and then I drop that into Notebook LM, and I send the podcast that's created to all my leadership team so that they're listening to it for 20 minutes in this style.
Okay, so you know how we were talking about that report on the hub and spoke?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're actually diving into that today. Yeah, you know, with your leadership meeting coming up, you wanted to really dissect this thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so much in here.
Absolutely, and we really need to pull out like those golden nuggets, you know, those actionable strategies.
So a great way of getting people to come into the leadership meeting with a better understanding of the market, the opportunities, the threats. And all they've done is listen to a 20-minute podcast conversation, but it's a bespoke conversation based on the research on our specific business. It's brilliant. And one of the things that I haven't actually bought one, but I'm going to buy one, is because one of the problems that I'm now seeing is, like, you get so used to having Otter.ai in every virtual meeting and understanding how you can use that brilliantly. But in a client meeting, you might not want your laptop recording everything, or particularly if like you're on site at at somebody else's house, you might go, well, actually, how do I record this stuff? So one of the tools that a conference I was at a couple of weeks ago, one of the speakers was recording everything that he was saying on Pendant, which is limitless.ai. And that just records everything like Otter.ai does, and you've got it all available for you there. So that's another way of analyzing what you do. I talked a little bit at the start of this about ideation, how it can help us supercharge our creativity, 10x our ideation. And I'm definitely now seeing this firsthand. So I'm currently writing, so obviously we've got the podcast, The Business of Endurance. My next book will be The Endurance Business, which is basically the lessons learned from interviewing over 150 of the top endurance athletes from around the globe. So I was thinking about, well, what does a book cover look like? So yesterday, in like probably half an hour, I started with this concept. I'd merged through to this by the end of it. I've created, it's brainstorming on route. So I start with something like that. I end up with these sorts of things here. And it's the sort of work that historically we would have paid a marketing agency and waited 2 weeks to get these first drafts. Now, am I going to finish off? Is that going to be the final cover? Probably not. But if I said that's the one of all of those I like, I then give that to a marketing agency or a design agency just to finalize. I mean, to be honest, I could probably just go with that, but it could be tweaked a little bit better. So ideation is just speeding up so much. One of the other ways that they use ideation at Abundance 360 is what they did was they used a quantum computer, and so that is going through huge amounts of information, and they created the future versions of people, and then they interviewed those future. So they were saying, like, in 2050, what's the value of Bitcoin based on the conversation we had in the last learning lunch, and it's predicting what the value is of Bitcoin. So this was a conversation with the future. I think this was 2005. Oh, yeah, Peter Diamandis at 120. Now, of course, it's predictions, but it's predictions based on quantum computing. So it's the best predictions that we've got.
Early disease detection, gene therapy, monthly nanowatt repairs, and a data-driven lifestyle, plus purpose, love, and curiosity. The real secret: never stop upgrading when you're
that was, I don't know if you could hear the question, but it was what got you to living to 120, and it's then giving you the answer. Now that particular one was cut down to only giving 30-second responses, so it's really bite-sized. But being able to interrogate things around future predictions is like I think this gets really deep when you can start spending time with technology that can really predict stuff in the future. There's another version of this.
Game changer is API-driven epigenetic programming in 2032, resetting cellular age states. That, combined with nanobot repair, made true age reversal and longevity escape velocity a reality today.
So longevity escape velocity is a term I've used before, but if you haven't heard that before, that's where you get to the point where for every year you stay alive, your life expectancy goes up another year. So, like, for example, if you were thinking, well, okay, if I want to invest in longevity, where would I invest? Well, nanobot technology, just as an idea, would be, and we saw a guy swallow do you remember the film Cyberspace? Inner Space, that's it, sorry, thank you. We saw somebody swallow a computer, so that's a pill that they can then move around the body, and it will also release medicine to the problem site that they find, and it's got little snipping facilities as well to cut stuff. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm going to skip through this one, but so I think just using AI to speed up your process of thinking is, so I'm using it a lot at the moment for, like, give me 10 ideas on this. And then I go, right, okay, I like that idea. So for example, with the book cover, I say, give me 10 ideas on a book cover that is for this book. And it gives me 10. I go, well, I like that idea. So I'll now say, right, write me a prompt for that. I'll come on to why I don't use ChatGPT to do the imagery itself in a minute. Well, I'll explain now. For me, if you want it an image to create text within it, ideogram.ai is way better than Gemini the last time I played around with it, and with ChatGPT. So I'll get ChatGPT to then write the prompt. I don't even have to write the prompt. I go, yeah, I like that idea, write me a prompt, drop that into ideogram. It gives me 4 versions of that image, and then I can go, yeah, I like that one most, but remix it based on, I prefer the color or burnt orange, and I'll have a burnt orange version of it. And so it's just speeding up that process of thinking, because it's giving me the ideas and then implementation. It's unbelievable. And that's where we move on to create, because obviously we can then use the AI to create this stuff for us, and creating at the speed of thought. And I saw a presentation a few weeks ago by a guy that's using AI a lot. And I always thought, I had in my head recently that if I wanted to do an ad on social media, it needed to be the talking head ad. You know, we all see them. You know, are you worried about retirement and you need help with your investments, or are you a business coach looking for more clients, or whatever it is? You get the talking head, don't you? And it's getting to the point where I see talking head, I see advert, I don't listen so much. This guy had got a completely different approach. He was just using static imagery ads like the olden days, like you'd have seen in a newspaper, but so he could create them super quick, try loads of different ones, and split test them to get the results. Now, I also saw, has anyone read Alchemy by Rory Sutherland or seen him speak? Brilliant marketing speaker, brilliant book. He talks about how any advertising with a cute animal in it has a way better impact than any other advertising. It just does. So it's like, well, how do we apply those two principles together? So I've started playing around with ads for the AI masterclass, or the Unleash the Power of AI. You know, sad-looking, cute parrot. Are you feeling trapped by your workload? Perhaps AI is the key. And obviously all of these images were created in ideogram or ChatGPT. Actually, sometimes what I've done is I've just asked it to give me a blank text bubble, because then I can try split test multiple messages. So we got the cute hamster, then we went to panda, then we went to sad puppy. Input that imagery into Runway, and give it some movement. So that's just the runway version. And of course, you could be changing this text as much as you want. So actually, it's suddenly really quick and easy to do really impactful stuff. You know, you could have a don't let endless paperwork keep you up at night. And of course, who came up with the line that's relating to the sad owl? Of course, ChatGPT did. Yeah, of course, I didn't come up with that. And then again, have runway just make it a little bit more interesting. And somebody scrolling through social media and going, "What's that owl doing there?" That it's going to stand out as opposed to the talking head, which isn't. Now, it might be that these sorts of versions are not your thing. So again, using, so Amy created these. Again, different type of adverts that you might want to use. And again, all created with AI really quickly, really easily. You know, 2 very different ads for the same thing. And we go, okay, so which one works better? We think we like this one better, but actually that one may have a better click-through rate. So loads of different opportunity to create stuff really, really quickly. Those I created yesterday in about 5 minutes. Then so that's static ads. And then I was like, well, okay, how could we use video? Because now with Sora, we can create quality video footage. Really, really good. Sora is OpenAI's video tool. And I'm like, so now we can create proper video ads. So with the Unleash the Power of AI, obviously we kind of make the reference to the Matrix a bit. You know, are you going to take the blue pill and wake up in the morning and forget everything you've ever learned, or are you going to take the red pill and get to see how deep the rabbit hole goes? So we can create a video around that. So we can have, this is really low quality video just because I wanted to keep the presentation size smaller. But an audio, and of course we could use 11 Labs, so it could still be my voice, but I don't actually have to do it. And create that audio going, you know, do you want to take the blue pill or the red pill? Find out how deep, you know, whatever it is. Quality video. Inception. If you don't think AI is going to change your business, you must be dreaming. And anyone that's watched Inception will go, oh, that's quite cool. And it's knowing where to go. So for imagery, I would use ideogram. For video, I would use Sora. But then you've got to turn that into, this was the stressed businessman trying to be the one-man band. So we create some sort of clever terminology for that. But then you might want to go, well, okay, how am I going to turn that into a usable ad? So I then went with, so this one, obviously in the Matrix, you remember the lady in the red dress? If you want to stand out in a world, you know, stand out from your competitors using AI. Did you see the woman in the red dress?
Are you wanting to use AI to stand out from the crowd? Did you spot the woman in the red dress? Learn how to step into the matrix with AI now.
It's not great. It's not my voice because we need to redo that in 11 Labs. But that took minutes to create. And it's a proper video ad that can stand out in a social media world. So creation is, and of course you can then add movement to those sorts of ads as well. One thing you will notice is that a lot of the imagery I'm using for my slides was created by AI, like a Brazilian car wash. So what I did for that was I created a custom GPT that is designed to give you slide imagery. It goes through phases where, I was talking about it to Amy last night, it goes through phases where it's better than it is or not, and sometimes I have to bollock it because it's not doing a good job. But what I've done is I've made it available for you guys. So if you go to, I'll get Amy to send it in the follow-up, but you can just go to that custom GPT and you just I just paste the slide notes in, or give me an image that depicts this, and it'll create me a slide image. So it's speeding up the creation of presentations way better, or any type of imagery. So the next stage is to engage, and that's engage your prospects, engage your clients, and engage your team. So how can we use AI to do this? Well, I think the first thing I would say is that there is research now saying that AI is actually becoming more empathetic than humans. And actually, there's an argument to say that people now are more comfortable sharing what's not going right or sharing their problems with an AI than they are sharing to a human being, because they've got that extra layer of safety. So if you think this is exclusive, this is never going to get eaten into by a AI, you need to think again. So I think there's two key ways that we've just changed how we can interact and engage with our clients and prospects. And we've created the AI Charlie coach. So this is going to be available for you. And the idea is that this gives you, so I only want to do coaching on a one-to-many basis because, like we were saying earlier, Claire, as soon as you do it on a one-to-one, your time vanishes. But how do we give you your bespoke journey that takes you on a unique path through all the content that we create within the trusted team? Well, it's through AI one-to-one coaching. So this was a conversation I had with AI Charlie Coach, which will only be available to members of the trusted team that I did yesterday.
Hi, I'm Charlie Redding. How can I help?
So I'm trying to grow my business and I really want to find more of my ideal clients, but I'm not quite sure how to do it. I know who my ideal client is, but I'm not sure how to find more of them. How can you help me?
All right, so you've got clarity on who your ideal client is. That's a great starting point. Now, the challenge is figuring out where they are and how to connect with them effectively. Let's break this down. First, think about where you are. It sounds like you're about to add something. What's on your mind?
Sorry, no, carry on. It was just me walking across the stage.
No problem at all. So as I was saying, since you already know who your ideal client is, the next step is to figure out where they spend their time and how you can position yourself in those spaces. Think of it like fishing. You need to cast your net where the fish are swimming. For example, are they active on specific social media platforms, attending certain events, or part of particular groups or communities? Once you identify those spaces, the key is to show up with value. One tool that could really help here is the Ideal Client Magnet. It's designed to help you not only clarify who your ideal client is, but also map out where they are and how to attract them effectively. It's about creating a pull rather than a push, drawing them in with messaging and offers that resonate deeply with their needs and desires. What do you think? Do you already have a sense of where your ideal clients are, or is that something we should explore further?
I think that I've got a pretty good sense. I suppose one thing that I do know is that accountants look after a lot of the same clients that I do, but we're not in competition with each other. Are there any trusted team tools that could help me kind of boost my relationships with accountants?
That's a smart observation. Accountants can be fantastic strategic partners since they often have deep, trusted relationships with the same clients you're looking to serve. To strengthen those connections, the Ideal Client Magnet framework would be a great fit. It's designed to help you build partnerships with non-competing professionals like accountants by creating value for them and their clients. Here's how you could apply it. First, make it incredibly easy for accountants to introduce you to their clients. Think about what you can offer them that's both valuable and simple to share. For example, you could create a resource like a guide, a checklist, or even a short video that addresses a common challenge their clients face, something that naturally leads back to your expertise. Another idea is hosting joint events. You could organize a workshop or a seminar where both you and the accountant share insights tailored to your mutual audience. It's a win-win. They get to offer added value to their clients, and you get in front of the right people in a trusted setting. Lastly, consider how you can nurture these relationships over time. Regular check-ins, sharing useful content, or even small gestures of appreciation can go a long way in keeping you top of mind. What do you think? Would any of these approaches resonate with the accountants you?
So there we go, live demo, because the technology wouldn't play ball. So it's a good question, and actually the reason that is all on a platform called Delphi. What I love about Delphi is the ease of which I can upload our information. So for example, today is being recorded. This will end up on our YouTube channel in different ways, some hidden, some available, and we'll just give it the channel links. So I haven't got to say this again. It'll upload that automatically because it knows it's following that channel. Same for the podcast. every time a new podcast episode goes in, we've linked it to the podcast, so it will automatically create a transcript of that podcast and add that to its database. You can even use content that isn't yours. So to start with, I was like, how do I get, I've read like over 300 business books. How do I get that knowledge into there? And I concluded that initially, and don't do this because I've gone back and deleted it after because it was a pain in the ass, but I decided that the quickest way to get a lot of that knowledge in was to link it to the Diary of a CEO podcast, because a lot of the books I read, they end up interviewing on there. And so it gleaned all of the information from all of the Diary of a CEO episodes and dropped that in there. So actually then it was far brighter than I was, and I needed to undo it. Because it ended up with so much content, and you pay one of the package you pay for a level of Delphi subscription based on how much content, and there was so much content going in there because of all of his episodes and his microbytes and all that sort of stuff. And then what I love about it is you can create these different instances. So we have the coaching instance, which gives you as much value as you can. So it's got all the manuscripts to my books, as many videos as we can throw at it. I've done a demo of this on asking it about final salary pension schemes before now, and it honestly it sounded like me in tone, but it sounded like me in terms of it was describing the final salary scheme as the Rolls-Royce of pension schemes, because basically taking the lessons from the Dream Retirement book and spitting it back out in my terminology. It's unbelievable. There's a financial advice firm in Switzerland called Selma. So the advice model in the UK is typically, they reckon 130 clients per advisor is about the maximum you can get to. They have 14,000 clients, and there's 25 people in that business, of which 5 are regulated. And that's because AI is having a lot of these conversations with them to free up the advisor, so they only have to dive into the bits where they're absolutely, definitely, essentially needed. And then you have the sales version, which won't be Charlie's superhero twin anymore, but that would, and like, sow the seed of how the trusted team would help, but not give them the information. It's the wow, not how, which is a great way of thinking when you're building anything in sales. And it's a term that I was just sharing with you guys a couple of days ago, I think. So in the sales bit, you give them the wow, not the how. You go, oh, look, we've got this thing called the partnership playbook, and it'll show you how you can work really well with accountants and make them want to refer more clients to you and add value to your business and be your marketer at no cost. But doesn't tell you how the partnership playbook actually does that, because that's where it's ring fenced for the members. Oh, this one is working.
Think about how I move forward. I'm not quite sure how the trusted team could help me, or indeed whether the AI masterclass is suitable for me. So can you help me with that, please? The AI masterclass is absolutely designed for someone like you, especially if you're looking to harness AI to create at the speed of thought and transform how you operate. It builds on the ideas from the webinar, diving deeper into practical applications. Think of it as a hands-on guide to integrating AI into your business, whether that's streamlining operations, enhancing client experiences, or even using AI to repurpose content and reach a broader audience. If you're still unsure, we could explore your specific goals or challenges to see how it aligns. What's the one area in your business where you feel AI could make the biggest impact right now? I'd like to attract more ideals.
You get the idea. So then finally, if we wanted to operate our business, how can we do that? How can we break through the client ceiling, operating the business through AI? So firstly, have you played around with OpenAI Operator yet, Nitesh?
Correct.
Absolutely. So agentic AI is the term that's been thrown around a bit recently, which is where AI actually, instead of it giving you information, it actually does stuff. Operator, which is OpenAI's agentic AI, now does stuff. So you could link it to your Trainline account, and it will go off and find the right train times for you. And the difference is it'll book the train for you. Or you can say, I'm in London tomorrow. I want an Italian restaurant near Covent Garden that's kind of mid-price range. Book it for 2 people.
You got it linked to any crypto?
No, I haven't. What have you done? Why have you linked it to a crypto account? Oh, it will pay for stuff.
Crypto.
Oh, okay.
And then the next step is, here are the funds to watch. If you think it's worth investing in that one, can you go off?
And you could just go and do it. Wow. So this is where we get game, like, honestly, this is incredible. Now this is, so Operator, I think, is only available for pro users with OpenAI, which I think is the £200 a month version or $200 a month. I've played around with it a bit. I think it's brilliant. It's definitely not solving the PA problem yet, but it is a step towards it for sure. Where I do think is another step towards replacing a PA, or at least upskilling and upscaling what your PA does for you, is email management. I mentioned Inbox is the, did you talk about this earlier? Okay. So Inbox, one of the biggest drains on productivity in business, I believe. I remember, I told the story before, but when I was running a little serviced office business in Rutland, at the same time as running efficient portfolio, we were trying to get super fast broadband into this little village in Rutland. And I was having an email conversation back and forth with the MD of BT Business at midnight. I'm like, this is great for me, but really, is this how the MD of BT Business should be spending his time, dealing, having a one-to-one conversation through email at midnight with some guy who lives in a village of 150 houses or something, or 150 people? Ridiculous. So inbox management, I've been really passionate about. I've delegated my inbox to a PA for the last sort of 15 years. But actually, there's no need for it to be a PA now. So I'll come on to a different solution in a minute. But Fixer.ai, I know Gmail, if you operate in the Gmail world, you've got a better solution. If you're in the Microsoft world, no good solutions until I found Fixer.ai. So Fixer.ai, what it will do is it will categorize every type of email that comes in. Once you've got categorization, you can then set up rules to say, so for example, these are the important emails, put those in my focus folder. They're the only emails I look at on a daily basis. Anything that looks like news, like a newsletter or anything kind of a bit more education-y, drop in the news folder. And then once a week, what I want is I want a summary of every email, or all the, because what happens is if you follow like AI, I've got 3 different subscriptions to 3 different AI newsletters, and you guarantee there's quite a lot of overlap between those. So now once a week, I get a summary of every topic that's in that's of any importance. And then I just delete the whole thing. And like, I know that I've got, or I can just go in and drill down into that thing if I want to. Yeah, Tom. There's another thing called Replit. Now, Replit, I have never written a line of code in my life. Nitesh will know what he's doing in that world. I don't know anything about what I'm doing in this world. But actually, before I found Fixer, I was really getting irritated by this whole inbox problem. And I went onto Replit, and I told Replit what software I wanted to create, because I didn't think it was out there. And just from text instruction, it went off and wrote the entire piece of software that will integrate into my Outlook. It'll do all of the jobs I've just asked it to do. It will, like, it blew me away that it just wrote the whole piece of software, and all I did was tell it give it text, and it gives me I mean, that's quite a complicated piece of software, because you've got to go through all of the Microsoft authentication piece. But I heard a saying at one of the conferences, which is software is the new content. And I think, like, we've talked about attracting clients through lead magnets before. And, can you give them a free book? Can you give them a free blog? Can you give them a quiz funnel? Give them software. This is incredibly powerful. And yet we can create it with 0 coding experience in literally minutes. So Replit, if you think, oh, I've got this, like, if you've got Claire, if you've got a spreadsheet you give clients to do this, turn that spreadsheet into a piece of software, and like, it's way more valuable it's like, honestly, and so I couldn't believe how easy it was using Replit.